Abner, please tell me everything you can physically tell me about what we've seen, this brand new paradigm of Android. I'm genuinely excited to hear your thoughts rather than read them, which is an excellent piece. If people haven't checked it out, go to the website, read all of them. I think there's about 4 pieces on the website. But please, Abner, our homegrown Android man, tell me about what you've experienced over the past couple of weeks.
So I guess I'll start. I've been waiting for this moment for 12 years. Project Glass had this concept video in 2012, which I just thought was the perfect introduction to what augmented reality could be. And 12 years later, we've been waiting for it. There's people have done it before in the past, but they're all bulky and just thick and just not consumer products. But what Google announced today, on Thursday, with Android XR is shockingly small, shockingly wearable. I'm just like, I just can't get over the fact that it's finally here, something that I've been waiting for at least for this long. It's here, and what's here is Android XR. To get that out of the way, that's the OS. That's Google's new OS. It is a new form factor for Android, specifically headsets and glasses, with a variety of form factors, designs in between. Let's get started with the headsets first.
Tell me a little bit about the headset, because I'm interested to see how this differentiates itself from other headsets on the market out there.
So the Android XR, its first form factor specifically is a headset, which is technology that's available now. So they're working with Samsung on the first headset. A dev kit was announced today on Thursday, called Project Muhan, or Infinity in Korean. It is the platonic idea of a headset, but that also realizes the limits of today's technology. It is a light thing made of plastic. There's no gimmicky screen on the front, on at least what I used. It's just light plastic with a battery pack, like the Vision Pro. So I've had Vision Pro since at the start of this year, and that is in comparison, it's a highly designed, overweight thing that uses metal. In comparison, what Samsung has, and this is close to the final hardware, is light. It is noticeably lighter. It is just a screen on your face, nothing more, and I think that's the right strategy for this.
Do you think in some ways as well that Samsung and Google, by extension of it, potentially learned from what maybe Apple has done incorrectly with their product? Obviously, I understand it's a high-end product, it's a high-end price point. People want to maybe have a perceived added value there in terms of the materials used. But do you think they've kind of learned a little bit from MetaQuest? Because I know that the Quest is
I think so. It's definitely cheaper. Much closer to that. Mm-hmm. But again, I consider Vision Pro the state of the art in terms of all the headsets I've used. And I'm happy to say that Android XR, in this developer kit form, matches Vision Pro in terms of hand recognition. There's eye tracking, the gestures, the pinching, which is bringing your thumb and forefinger together to select. You can move your hand around while it's like at the side of your body, and there's a pointer. All the basics are there. Android XR, to talk about the UI, UX for a second. It is very familiar to what Android... the common conventions from tablets and phones have been brought over to this new form factor. You tap a touchpad on the side of the device, and you get like this combo of the time, quick settings, one row of quick settings. You get an app launcher. All that is the tablet apps look good. I used Google Photos. I used Google Maps. I used Chrome, desktop Chrome, in terms of it's exactly the tablet UI. That's
one thing I wanted to ask you a little bit about that is it is using the tablet UI for those applications. In the demos shown that we've seen, obviously you had that behind closed doors. You've seen a lot more of it than, say, I have in press materials. Were you able to run those applications side by side, or in almost in a 360 window kind of format around your head, whatever it is?
You could have an insane amount of windows if you wanted. It's windows everywhere. And a bit like how Vision Pro remembers the actual positioning in 3D space, is exact same spatially aware. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
All the basics are there. All the basics are there, and I think to Google's credit, they got the basics down.
In terms of like the interface as well, though, here's another thing. This is completely almost side note to that. Did you see a lot of Material U tweaks in there? Is Material U a big component of the Android XR interface? Because obviously we have a vested interest in it.
Obviously,
because it's been going
the
for a long
apps are there. The settings, so officially there is a material design for XR, which was announced today. Some of the components have been optimized for 3D. So you have your full tablet apps running. It looks like the tablets apps we have today, maybe a bit simpler in terms of navigation. And I think the one way above that is something more optimized, is YouTube. YouTube had a side rail that's actually different from today, which uses a bottom bar. It looked more like the website, to the point where I got confused a bit, that I thought I was just using the YouTube website, but it is the app with a navigation rail, just like the web.
So I'm guessing it's a little bit like Android TV in some respects?
It is, yes.
Like
exactly. It is like Android TV.
Okay.
And in terms of the actual optimized UI, you can have the screen is the main window, and there are floating panels for the description on the left, the queue on the right, and at the bottom you have a pill, playback controls. So that's a more spatial UI for developers that want to optimize the apps further.
And what was the obviously it's kind of a market that has existed for a little while, right? VR is in and of its own thing, and then AR is that next natural step. And this is very much in the kind of grey area between AR and VR. What was the one killer application that you think someone's going to try this on potentially for the first time when we have a production product available from Samsung, and is going to be like, wow, I need to have one of these at home, I need to have one of these for traveling, whatever it potentially is going to be?
So photos were pretty good. It's just the life-size nature. I haven't really... So there's a faux 3D effect. It's cinematic photos today from 2020, update in 21. And the Apple has a similar thing for Vision Pro. It just adds some depth. It looks good with videos. But I think Google Maps was... So Google Maps has this feature from, I don't know, last year sounds right. It had an immersive view where it creates a 3D renders of the world. You can even go inside buildings, and it's Google has technology to make a 3D model out of still images, that kind of thing. It works so much better than mobile, than doing it on a flat screen. So the way I phrased it was, Google Maps becomes like a content thing. It's as fun as browsing YouTube. I'm not sure how long that novelty lasts, but it was fun. I would lean back and use this in the same way that Google Earth is popular in VR headsets. It was pretty fun. So
you alluded to it just then. Like this is one question I potentially have, and I'm going to ask this on behalf of the kind of people who are going to be critical of this to begin with, because I think there's been a lot of criticism of Vision Pro in general, because they don't necessarily have the app library. I'm aware that, and if anyone isn't aware, is that Google is going to make it easier for developers to just effectively port their applications over. by opting in, and they'll work as standard. Did you have the opportunity to try out any
No, I
non-standard applications?
Stuck to some Google apps, but so far there have been a dozen early access partners that already have this headset, and as of Thursday, more developers are getting headsets, developer kits. I believe they're still on the NDA, so we're not going to see a rush of people having stuff. But yeah, it's coming. And
another one of those. It's kind of a controversial question, I guess. Do you think that obviously this is that major step up from the Google Cardboard era? I was a Google Cardboard. I loved Google Cardboard. Let me just lay that out on the table.
I still have some unopened ones.
Oh, well, the collector's items
unset up
now.
Ones.
Do you think that this, and obviously we had that date phase with Daydream as well? Do you potentially think that now we're at a situation where all of those potential, I'm going to call them missteps. I don't think it's necessarily missteps because they were just kind of of the time. Do you think that some of those missteps, as it were, have led to this moment, or do you think that this is something that is just completely different? It's completely on its own track, and lessons haven't been learned, or lessons have been learned? How do you feel about that? Because I have my own opinions on that slightly.
So Grass and Daydream they've been fully killed in terms of it's not a continuation. It's not like Wear OS with the big Wear OS 3 revamp, revive. Those projects are dead and gone. The lineage of what has remained and been in use is AR core, these underlying technologies, geospatial technologies to build app experiences, all this stuff like 3D animals, 3D objects, all this stuff that has existed on the web in 2D surfaces, all that is excellently being used to provide the content for Android XR. Again, like the Google Maps thing, and the Google Photos examples I just mentioned, they excel exceptionally well on the headset. And that's a continuation, that's the lineage. But in terms of what Google has learned from Glass, Cardboard, and Daydream, I'd say, of course, hopefully there's some institutional knowledge that got preserved. But in terms of direct lineage, those projects, they're not serving as the basis of what's new here.
And I'm guessing, kind of as you mentioned, that the good thing here is that unlike some of the other services out there, Google has a ready library of content, potentially.
Yeah, YouTube's 3D content is existing. And this is a tangent, but it frames why Google hasn't brought any of this stuff to Vision Pro, to Vision OS. They're clearly keeping it for themselves at this point as a competitive advantage. And I think that's been wise for them.
And obviously, we don't. This developer kit, if I can get my words out, I'm kind of I'm. As I say, this is a lot of information to take on board for anyone, let alone those of us who've known for a few days already. The developer kits, have they come with a price point? Are these something that someone potentially could get?
These developer, again, they've been under NDA. Wuhan is pretty close to the final hardware that will ship in 2025, but they're nothing confirmed yet. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Perfect. I think we probably need to move on to the product that has completely blown from me away from the demos that I've seen.
I think, I know that the bridge.
And this is definitely the bridge that this is where I think we've always expected technologies to go in the past. And I know we've seen some demos from Meta and their own Orion service. And it's worth noting that we are talking about prototypes here, but lay it on me thick with what happened with your test drive of Google's. Do they have a product name? I guess it's just Google's AR glasses.
They're prototypes. Yeah, they're prototype AR glasses. So it's okay. They look. I use Meta Ray-Bans. I have Meta Ray-Bans. They look like Meta Ray-Bans, but with a display, with a single monocle display. It is for granceable information. It's not for like with what others are doing in the space. It's not, you're not browsing the web on these glasses, nor should you really. at this point in terms of balancing all the weight, the screen, the battery, all that. We're not ready for that. The technology is not here yet. But what it is ready for, what it is absolutely ready for, is grantsable information. So Gemini. So this, in effect, this was the first time anybody outside of Google has gotten to use Project Astra, which is their plan to build an AI assistant that's helpful for the real world. Gemini 2.0, there's some more features about it yesterday. But what in using this demo of Gemini Astra, of Project Astra based on Gemini 2.0, it is like talking to a human. It's like having a human next to you, a human assistant. It's so natural. I don't think any of these examples get across. You talk to it, and it does the thing, and it's I don't know, most equivalent to a human in my experience.
And I'm guessing this is the true. I mean, if you're going to use AR as a terminology, this is the augmentation, isn't it? This is the true augmentation of the software. From what I can see, is that you have instant translation, you have contextual translation, you have all of the contextual information right there in front of you. This is, I mean, it definitely is overblowing it a little bit, but this is what I think when I think of like that cyberpunk era of augmented humanity, if that makes sense. But this is potentially not, like say, not blowing out of proportion too much. This is the step that we potentially need. This is a bridge between,
I agree.
We have a knowledge gap. For instance, you traveling. I think one of the examples shown was translating a Korean menu into English and then having the demo, the person asking about each individual dish and then getting potentially nutritional information from that as well. I think that feels where Gemini may potentially be best placed. But again, I guess there's worries about accuracy and things like that. But is this is this a level of knowledge that's enough?
Yeah. So so again, I used it most on the glasses, but I also use it on the headset. It will be coming first to the headset. So on the headset, it is from straight from Google's mouth. They think Gemini or an assistant is the killer app for these headsets. So on the headset, Gemini is used to control. It's used to launch apps. It can go directly into like a Google Maps thing to show you stuff. If you say, show me XYZ, it can, so the example I got was, there was somebody wearing a sports jersey in my physical space. Gemini Astra can see through the front-facing cameras and see what's viewing on your screen. So somebody was wearing a jersey of I think it was Barcelona. So, and the Barcelona jersey doesn't say Barcelona on it.
No, it doesn't. No.
It's just the design. It has whatever the sponsor thing is. So yeah, you just say, basically, how is this team doing? And it recognized the jersey, it recognized the team, and then it opened a Google search knowledge panel with the league rankings. So, yeah. And from there, it was like, show me top scores or something, and it had a Messi thing.
So in that respect, obviously, to me, this is the one thing I think a lot of people are potentially missing or frustrated with. And I can definitely attest to this, is with Gemini, as good as it can be and as good as these services can be, I'm intrigued to see what happens when, because obviously Google are using this for contextual information about the real world, and this is something that, for instance, like ChatGPT and is it Claude and Perplexity, all of those other options that you have available to you, you have to plug in that information manually and then ask questions after the fact. Did this feel like it was more? I mean, I can tell from when you told
prefacing. Yeah, you don't preface things. You just look and ask, and that just saves so much time. You just look at something and you ask a question. You don't have to specify, tell me about this book, or just look and ask your question. It saves a step. It saves you from really processing what you're looking at. For better or worse, you just can skip the question, because like in the real world, if you're with somebody, if you're curious about something, you just point, hey, what's that? You do. That's how good Astra is. You can ask those questions.
I mean, thinking ahead, I can even see this if once we get a consumer level product, that we could potentially have this as like for tour guides and in museums and things like that, where we already have audio description. I wonder how much value this could add to. I mean, even for people who have visual impairments, I can imagine this being a really powerful tool. But
absolutely, Google has this project guideline or something where you basically have your Pixel phone on your chest in a harness, camera looking at the world. You wear headphones. It helps people run. It lets them run a marathon. If they're either blind or they're vision impaired, it lets them do that with guides and cues. On a headset, this is even more natural.
And how was the audio then? I'm going to ask some specifics about the hardware. What about the audio? Did the audio sound good in terms of like into your ears?
Yeah, into my ears. It was accompanied by a transcript, which was good. I'm not sure in the future, but if you're somebody who doesn't want audio like leaking out, you can probably just read it. But that's not here yet. But yeah, the audio is good. I listened to music on it. I looked at the vinyl and asked, play something from this album. Did that, and yeah, the audio is fine. I don't know. I feel like for the people, having a headphone in is probably the move, or like at least one headphone, which is what I'm doing anyways. That's probably the move going forward. But the headphones are fully capable.
And did Google give you an idea? Obviously, I know this is prototype in the end, but how is this obviously connected to your device or connected to with a SIM card of its own?
No, it's connected to your phone. It's like any other wearable. It's like any other smartwatch. It's any other Bluetooth headphones. This is an extension of your phone, which is because a lot of stuff is being processed offloaded to the phone, which I think makes sense because you're not fitting like a cellular radio on these glasses, obviously. But yeah, it's a wearable. It's jumping to the end. I think it's a better smartwatch to me because having information. So I had a notification. Somebody sent me a messaging notification on the headset. It just appears in your line of sight. There's no buzz on your wrist to look. There's no ping for you to take out your phone. It's right there. It's in your line of sight, and that is so much faster.
And in terms of, obviously, when you get those notifications, were you able to reply to those, or is it just here's a ping? Okay, so you can reply straight from the glasses as well?
Absolutely. It's I mean, the thing with Gemini Live is we're waiting for it to be connected to extensions in the short term. That still hasn't happened yet, but it's neither here nor there, I guess. But it's the headphones experience. It's like your Pixel Buds today.
I mean, that in and of itself, I think is for a lot of people, it's probably the game-changing differentiator here. And I'm guessing with Astra coming on leaps and bounds, obviously behind closed doors, to be able to put this into a working prototype. You mentioned something about contextual awareness when you were using Gemini. Did that feel like it was a step ahead of what Gemini Live is currently available to do now? Because I think sometimes, as good as Gemini Live can be, it sometimes does feel a little bit robotic.
Yeah, I know what you mean about robotic. I guess thinking about this now, the fact that I didn't think Astra was robotic probably is the answer to your question. It was like having a human person next to you. That's how it felt like, and it's something like Gemini Live is clearly what we're most familiar with, but the extension of that is the vision, is Gemini being able to see, and that's coming to phones, that's coming to Gemini. Astra is coming to Gemini Live, as previously announced, eventually, not here yet, but the very next step of that is the vision, and it have always been ready, always being pointed at the world to receive your questions. That's something. That's really something.
One thing I'm very interested in as well is that we already have the Meta Ray-Bans, and you say you have a pair of those already. And Meta's Ray-Bans can do like recording and all those kind of things. Was no real mention of that in this particular?
I took a picture. Took a picture and was able to see the preview for a few seconds on the actual displays. Text is very clear. You can read text, transcripts and stuff. That works. The images, it's useful for framing. Took pictures.
No, it was one of those things I was very worried
in Google Photos.
I think it's one of the. I think looking from the perspective of what's currently available. So we only have Meta Ray-Bans on the market. Yeah. How long? Obviously, we have a few players out there like Xreal, and the other name escapes me. But I know there is another couple of players on the market who make devices that they're a bit bulky, but you just plug in your phone and you can kind of use them as an AR glasses. Do you think that we will see those brands now suddenly pivot to this, or is this something that we may see in a few years having a true own Google branded pair of smart glasses?
So Google right now seems to be really on the partner model. This is my prediction for the near term. So Google, in one of the form factors alongside headsets and glasses, the subcategory of glasses is what Google calls AR glasses and what Google calls AI glasses, which is they invented that. I don't think that's ever been uttered. But AI glasses have no screens. They are just the Meta Ray-Bans form factor. I think that's what's immediately coming next. Display technology isn't. It's what's coming first are these AI glasses that have a camera, that have microphones for voice input. They work with your phone. The output, the feedback is Gemini talking to you. I think that's the immediate near term, and I think that could happen. I'd probably say next year. I think that's what's coming immediately next. It's because it is useful. So it's that what you would have there is if Astra is ready by then, which probably could be. You can look at stuff, you can ask questions. It just gets read out to you rather than anything appearing on your screen. And I think that's a good starting point for the immediate future, near term.
But I guess for most people, the killer application is obviously the vision element of it, being a pair of glasses.
So I think what's live view, that's what's going to be immediately useful in these AI glasses. That's such a weird thing to say. AI glasses. I know it's just one letter from AR, but that's weird and takes some getting used to. But I think with a camera facing the world, you'll be able to do, and honestly, all the things Google demoed. You can get directions. You'll be prompted where to turn. You obviously won't be able to see a map. But yeah, I think you'll be able to send messages. You'll be able to reply to stuff, ask questions, conversations. I think that all that stuff will be doable, and you get the benefit of a camera for world-facing pictures.
I think that I'm very interested to see how that kind of comes to fruition, because I understand that a lot of people probably would be more interested in this glasses form factor than the VR headset form factor, because obviously I don't think VR has really, really set the world alight in terms of like for gaming potentially, but I still think it's quite niche.
Let's jump back into that. So Google sees it for productivity and the thing that kind of sounds like a tablet. But yeah, it's productivity is. I was told that you're getting a desktop Chrome experience. We'll see more. But yeah, I need to use the desktop mode on Pixel Tablet more. But we'll see how that works out. Entertainment is obviously the most natural fit. I think as an entertainment device, as long as it's not $3,500, that'll make it more of an entertainment device. But yeah, those two use cases are there, and I think people are more interested in the glasses. I think like you were saying, the glasses will probably be more. It's up to Google to prove that the headset is enough for productivity. It's definitely there for entertainment, so I'll give them that. Watching YouTube, like playing around with Google Maps, that kind of stuff. But the glasses, I again, like world-facing camera, which I've longed to return to from the glass days. That's going to be one aspect of it. The other is using Gemini Live, basically, plus the added ability of it to see things.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how. I think for most people, the discrete way the discrete way a pair of glasses looks compared to a headset is something I think most people will be very, very interested in, because you have obviously the benefits of obviously access to all of your things on your phone, but in that heads up, or even just like you say, that the voice control methodology, I think that's kind of interesting. And with Astra baked in, I mean, I'm interested to see who the first company to come out with a like a public facing product is, because if they get the price, yeah, I think if they get the price point correct, I think it could be a really good good buy, especially because
this is like far into the future, but that's pricing. It can't be more than a smartwatch. It can't be $1,000. Let's get that out of the way.
I think if we're looking at the VR headset performance, I think that should be in and around Meta. It should be cheaper than the Meta Quest, if I'm being completely honest, because they obviously have a bigger market share.
I think it's higher.
Do you think it would be higher?
The screen stuff felt more premium.
Okay.
It's again, I think it's probably close to Vision Pro. I know Meta abandoned their $1,500 and their $1,000 headset because I think a higher end display, I think it's around $1,000. Maybe they just try to get it a hair under. But I think it's like $1,000 because this is more. I think it's a bit higher res. I'd love to be surprised, obviously. 500 is the end goal, but I think that requires like more cheaper hardware there.
Do you think that we're going to reach a point where the device comes out and Google's going to have to make a decision, or Samsung's going to have to make a decision on Google's behalf to make it a multi-purpose use device, i.e., you can put a video input into these? Because obviously, is that something that was mentioned to you at the
not mentioned? The one thing that was mentioned is that this is meant to be shareable. Like the compared to Vision Pro, is just one user. It's solely one user. Google does not want those restrictions. Like if it detects that another person is wearing it, it'll automatically jump into the adjusting the so there are motors that adjust to make sure the lenses are positioned correctly. So it's a motorized thing like the Vision Pro. So yeah, it's I think it's not going to be for one person. If you buy it for a family, it can be used for everybody easily, which is again like what Meta is doing. So
yeah, there is more utility to it than just being a single use thing. Okay, well, I'm interested to see. I do hope that there is plans to potentially use it for multiple purpose, because I do think sometimes having a siloed Android device may be a difficult sell because of the limitations of Android productivity.
I agree. The better the screen, the more likely it's for different things. Let's put it that way.
I do hope that is something that's on one of the playbooks, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what this first kind of developer focused product does and headset does. and then obviously later down the line, I'm
the glasses.
The glasses, yeah. I feel like
in terms of
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay, no. Let's talk about glasses without displays. Like I was saying, I think those have to be priced like wearables, like smartwatches.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the most expensive smartwatch? Like,
I believe on Android side of things, not taking into account any luxury brands, I'm pretty sure it's the Galaxy Watch 7 Ultra. I don't know if they call it the Watch 7 Ultra. Off the top of my head, I think that's about $600-$700.
It feels expensive for glasses, especially when you already have to pay for the prescription. But basically around there, it won't be. I don't think it's $1,000 because honestly, it's just like a camera, an audio, the Qualcomm chip. Yeah, I don't think it's no screen like a smartwatch. I think it's around. I don't know. I'm going to say I'm going to put out $500. But yeah, I don't think it's more in terms of like the smart glasses with actual displays. Like starting with one display. Yeah, that's I don't even want to put a price tag on that yet.
I would wager it would be very, very costly. But I mean, in terms of the actual shape and form factor, I'm interested to see who signs up for this because I know obviously Ray-Ban are tied up with Meta now, and I'm a big Ray-Ban wearer. So who's going to? I'm sure some fashion brands will jump on this with obviously in partnership with either Samsung, either partnership with whoever it is. I'm very intrigued to see where that goes because if this is going to be a form factor that takes on a new kind of position on the market, who is going to be the brand to come in there? I don't actually know.
So the thing they're all owned by the same company, like the parent company, Rexotica or whatever. It's kind of
it's like a monopoly, isn't it, for sunglasses and glasses?
Kind of shock. I encourage everybody to read the Wikipedia article with the list of brands. One company owns all the brands. And like LensCrafters in the US or whatever. Read the Wikipedia article, you'll be surprised the like corporate merger history is really unexpected. But yeah, that's Meta was very smart to partner with Ray-Bans, and they also get the in-store stuff with LensCrafters. I don't know. Google partners with Warby Parker. I don't know. That's a US direct to consumer like glasses thing. I don't know. I think Samsung could make their own glasses designs. Honestly, it's fine. There will obviously be opportunity for. I don't know. JBL comes to mind for some reason.
With speaker, I could imagine speaker-laden headphones.
Bose, I don't know. Yeah. Bose with their audio stuff, maybe they'd want that. Like there's ample opportunity, but I think the big hope here is that the components, again, the glasses, the audio system, a basic touchpad, if those are all cheap, if those can be plug and play almost, and what it comes down to the design, I think you have something. You have the Android of glasses.
Yeah, I think we're in a strong position in terms of like product portfolios available. I'm really interested to see just where this develops. It's always interesting when we see a new is it a new take? I guess it's a new area for Android to kind of move into. Yeah. It's almost like lava, isn't it? It feels like Android feels like lava at the moment, where it's just flowing into whatever channels it can at the moment. And this does feel like that natural progression. I always wondered what would happen with glass and obviously what would happen in the next, because there was always going to be a next generation of it. And this feels like the true kind of application of Gemini as a product. And
agreed.
Gemini leaving your kind of your flat screen. This could potentially be a moment for Google now to exert some dominance over some of the other AI players on the market. I know that there's a lot of people out there doing their own thing.
Astra, I think it's a genuinely unique thing. I cannot wait to use it even on my phone, but I absolutely want to break it out into this form factor that I'm already using, I'm already seeing.
Yeah. we have all of the details over on the website, so definitely go ahead and check them out. It is a huge shift. I think without downplaying it too much, this is a major shift for Android.
Coming in December.
Maybe we'll see some more when Samsung eventually launches the Galaxy S25, which we do think is, I don't know if anything's been made concrete about that, but that's potentially at the start of the year. There are rumors at the start of the year. So yeah, January we could learn a lot more about what Samsung has planned for us in the future. And yeah, it's I think it's good news that we have our own opportunity to have a headset on Android, because I think obviously Apple have had theirs and it's at a potentially much higher price point for a kind of public-facing consumer product. So yeah, now we have developer kits going out and people using them behind closed doors. Maybe we'll see some cheaper hardware in the future. I'm personally kind of hoping we get something Meta Quest price point in the next 18 months. I could never see myself paying the better part of £3,500 or $3,500 for a product such as that.
I don't know. The thing here, the factor is that it is the first of anything is always expensive. So I would take it as skepticism. I just factor that into all planning basically at this point.
Yeah. It's going to be expensive if you are one of those early adopters, but you knew that anyway. You knew that.
Early adopters, yeah, that's
how it goes.
But
yeah, I just want to say thanks for sharing all of that information, Abner. It's always, again, this is a visual product, and not having those visuals and having the tangible feel of a product is difficult to kind of quantify. So getting that insight is always really useful.
It's you can't share the video feed. This is a new era. It's like headphones. It's a headphone problem. You have to describe audio to people who have everybody has different ears. This is a lot of, as we get into this future, there's a lot for us to think about, especially with people's eyesights.
Yeah, I think this, it's always great to hear just what you've kind of experienced, and I'm sure everybody out there listening is thinking the same thing. I've tried to ask as many questions that I think all of you out there would be thinking. If you have any questions that you want to follow up with us, we'll have our socials in the show notes as always. But yeah, this has been episode 34 of Pixelated, with a pretty big, probably the most seismic change in terms of Android as an OS this year. And Google left it till December, which is always nice, a little wrapped up Christmas present. I just want to say thanks again, Abner, for sharing all of that wisdom and spending some time with me today. I was excited to hear your thoughts, and I'm now very, very excited to see what Google has in the future. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Thanks, guys, and speak to you soon.
Bye.